I'm Jason Pritchard, and I oversee the Peer Help program. And of course, a peer is a like-minded individual, but it's also an acronym of our services. So we do programming, employment, education, recovery help. So we help people who are currently incarcerated or have a history of substance use disorder, and we can aid them in any of those four categories. And I think the things I want to talk about today is how peer support could be accessed or collaborated more across the different services. And for instance, like how can a clinician refer patients for these services? And in our service area, which is the upper 8 counties of Northeast Tennessee, plus Hamlin and Cock, they can call our peer helpline, which I'm going to put the website and the phone number in there as soon as I am finished. But outside of our service area, they can also call the Tennessee Red Line, and I'll put that number in the chat box as well. And then the way our program came about is we have an array of funding sources. Like the program has really been on fire. The primary reason is not only is it a peer help program, but it's also a second chance employment program in its own. We currently have 6 peer recovery specialists that have over 20 years of incarceration time between the 6. So Ballad has kind of stepped up and set a standard as far as giving people a second chance and hiring despite felony backgrounds. And we're really seeing benefits. And so our funding comes from federal, state, and foundation providers. We have a $1 million HRSA grant, which employs 3 of our peer recovery specialists. We were recently contracted by First Tennessee Development District to take our peer help model to 2 Tennessee county jails. We engage with individuals 90 days before they're released, and then we navigate them to different services that addresses the full continuum of care. For instance, they might need clothing, housing, food, transportation, and then the overall goal is gainful employment. We also have received a $200,000 contract from the Virginia side to do peer recovery expansion, and that's to train 72 peer recovery specialists over the next 3 years. And the unique part of our program is that currently we offer the individuals, because Ballad is located in both states, we train them through the Virginia curriculum, which is an ICRC certification. And they have to have 500 contact hours in order to work with or 500 contact hours working with individuals who have a history of substance use disorder and mental health. We provide them access to those opportunities. And then once they're certified, Tennessee has a reciprocity state to state certification process. And so when they receive their Virginia certification, they then engage with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, and that is reciprocated. So that's something that's really unique. So the peer recovery specialists on our team are all dual state certified. I think if I'm looking at the questions here, are there any gaps? I'm going to just reiterate something that's probably been said many times in many conversations. The 2 biggest gaps we see, number one is transitional housing. We're actually working to pull together a work group. The one resource that is available is the Oxford House, but you also have the gap of the amount of money it takes for a person to enter the Oxford House program, which is about $270, and coming right out of incarceration to have, or treatment, to have that kind of money up front, it is a big barrier. But we're pulling together a work group with the United Ways of Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee to see if we can pursue some funding that would provide access to transitional housing for individuals coming out. The next barrier or gap is not so easily addressed, and we all know is transportation. We've received calls on a daily basis to our peer help warm line asking for transportation services. Sometimes we're able to oblige, sometimes we're not. Some of our funding specifically has to be spent in rural counties. In Tennessee, of our 10 service area counties, only 6 of them are considered rural. So it does limit the services that we can provide in some areas, but transportation and housing has been the 2 biggest things that we've had problems finding. And I want to say this about peer support. Peer support is an evidence-based practice. It improves the quality of life. It increases and improves engagement with services, meaning navigation services. So if I have a person that's working with me that guides me to a service, makes sure I go, if possible, gets me there, then I'm more apt to pursue the service. And by pursuing the service, it's going to increase my whole health and self-management. And peer support acts as a bridge from clinical services to community-based wraparound services, which can then address the full continuum of care. So we're not just talking about using a peer recovery specialist to address treatment or substance use, but we're addressing the underlying health conditions too that may not be necessarily mental health. It could be a consequence of the substance use or the mental health challenge. It might be endocarditis. It might be hepatitis C. It might be HIV. But the peer recovery specialist is able to identify services that are available and navigate the individuals too. And it doesn't always mean that they're navigating them to sobriety or recovery. Sometimes it might just be there to hold their hand when they're not ready to enter recovery, so that the day they know who to call. So I think that's a good overview of what peer support is and who peer support specialists are. As far as like how they can be utilized by clinicians, we know that they're already being used like with Frontier Health and mental health. But I think a new component is that peer recovery specialists can also be used as navigators. Many times they've used resources themselves that the clinicians may not be aware of. And so to engage the peer support specialist of different community, grassroots, faith-based services that are available, they can make that connection.